All right, welcome everybody to the Jim Acosta Show. Epstein-gate continues. Trump keeps the story going by offering up ridiculous comments that the Epstein files were, quote, made up.
By
As
James
you can,
Comey.
yeah, well, yeah, and as you can see, my big guest today, Molly Jong Fast. In a little bit, I'll talk to my friend, my former colleague, former prosecutor, Elie Honig. He's out with a new book, When You Come at the King. We'll also hear from him about that. And my friend Christine Brennan is here, too. She has a new book on the WNBA star Caitlyn Clark, so stay tuned for that as well. But I'm really glad to welcome back to the program Molly Jong Fast. She has the Fast Politics podcast, of course, and she also has her new book, which is a New York Times bestseller, How to Lose Your Mother and Memoir. And Molly, apologies for that huge windup, but great to see you.
I love a huge windup. I'm delighted to be wound up. Yes, it's great to see you too, Jim Acosta. And what a day. I mean,
Where do we start? I mean, I have to start where you and I talk about all of these different things. We get on, we were talking
yeah,
about
we
inflation.
need
We
to
talk
do
about
this once
immigration.
a week. You
We
had
should.
me back because I love, you and I are buddies. We're really
I
buddies.
know.
And my podcast producer, people hate it when I spend time talking about how much I like my guests. So,
Aw,
but I like you, and I'm not
I feel the same way.
I'm your guest. So there you go.
Well, and I come on your thing, you come on my thing. But I
That's right.
mean, did we start the year thinking that the Jeffrey Epstein saga would come back and haunt Donald Trump in the way that it has? This is kind of crazy,
I
but here we
just wrote
are.
a piece about
Yeah.
this for Vanity Fair, not to just be insufferable plugging my stuff here,
No,
but
plug.
I think it's so interesting that Jeffrey Epstein has come back from the grave to haunt Donald Trump, and not in the way you would think, right? You would think that what you
Yes.
would think is Donald Trump brought down by Jeffrey Epstein in a video, whatever. But that's not what this is, right? This is
That's not what this is.
Donald Trump feeding conspiracy theories to his base, awakening an appetite for an easy answer that comes with a conspiracy theory, which, by the way, it's a tale as old as time, right? That
Yep.
this is what, if you are a person who's scared by modernity, scared by what America looks like right now, an easy answer is sort of the play. And Donald Trump really did for such a long time. I mean, I was looking back at his sort of romance with QAnon and the ways in which
Yes.
he invoked those where we go one, we go all. Remember that?
He has done this for years. He's played the conspiracy theory fringe, element of the Republican Party like a violin for years. I mean, I was talking about this the other day when he was pursuing the birther
Yeah.
BS. I mean, I reported way back during the first Trump administration that after a while, he knew that it was bullshit, and yet he peddled it anyway because he knew it worked with his base. So he's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and all of his people, I mean, like if you think about Michael Flynn or, these people got even Kash Patel. I mean, the reason why this is so hard on Kash Patel is because these are his people, right? These are his fans.
These are the ones he wanted in there.
Right. And they thought that once he got in there, once he headed the FBI, right, he is where the buck stops.
Yeah.
And here he is where the buck stops. So where is the content that these people put him in office to get?
Well, and just today, he was asked if his name appears in the Epstein files. He was asked by a reporter at the White House. Kudos to the reporter at the White House who asked this
Yeah.
question.
By the
And he
way,
goes,
not a comfortable place to ask that kind of question.
not a comfortable
Everyone
place.
else is asking about
If you
how
don't
good his
ask that
golf
question,
swing is.
well, and
Yeah.
if you don't ask that question, we're all going to scream at you now. I mean,
Yeah.
this has to be asked. And he goes, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by Obama. They were made up by Biden. Now, he thinks that the people in his base are fools, but they're not that dumb. I'm sorry.
Right.
They may, I may
Right.
be crazy, but I'm not stupid, as the saying goes. I mean, this
Yeah.
is ludicrous.
And I also think we've seen Trump, like Burisma, right, which was a made up conspiracy theory too, at least involved like some sort of thread of a needle here, right? That there was some connection to Burisma. This is like, no, James Comey did it.
Yeah.
And look, I am no fan of James Comey. Let me go
Yeah.
on the record here and say he's too tall. I find it very annoying. And
Yeah.
also his books are his pot boilers, like there are many very talented writers in this country. Why we need to read books written by this guy who lost Hillary Clinton the election. I'm sorry, you'll never get me involved in that.
Yeah,
So, um,
I'm with you
but
on that.
right, but he clearly did not make up Epstein.
No. And Pam Bondi was saying in February, "Oh, well, the list is on my desk," and she's cleaned that up lately to say it was the files on my desk, which is impossible because the files are too big. They would fit up like multiple rooms of an office building. And so all of this is horseshit. And then, of course, Trump earlier today threw her under the bus again and said that she should release additional information on the
Yeah.
probe. She's handled it very well, he says. It's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. So, I mean, here's my thing, Molly. There's no way she is acting independently on her own. This is
No.
one of those things where when Trump says something, you have to read between the lines, or it doesn't have to be spoken. It's the unspoken thing.
Well, I also wonder, remember, Bondi did these releases of the Epstein phase one, where she gave these binders to libs
The
of
binders.
TikTok and all of their influencers. And the influencers were like, yes, we have it now. And then they took lots of photos with all of these binders.
Holding up
And
the
then
binders. Yeah.
right. And then they opened the binders to find that everything in there was from a simple Google search. And
I thought it was a
they
coloring book or something. But anyway, yeah.
Right, yeah, I mean, there's no chocolate in there, though there
Yeah.
is, I wanna say from my own experience, quite a lot of chocolate in the White House,
Yeah.
which is probably, I mean, maybe there's less, I haven't been in the Trump White House, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do think it just strikes me that they all played into it. So now we have Bongino and Pash Patel, who are clearly very upset that their fans are mad at them, right? Because we
Yeah.
just keep seeing that. And then we have this situation with Bondi where the question is, will Trump get rid of her? And I honestly believe that Trump would have a hard time getting rid of her because they both have been there. Bondi was a lobbyist for Qatar.
Right. Yeah, and she also kinda got him out of hot water on the Trump University stuff, I think.
Right.
She was involved in some of that I mean, there's a reason why she's the attorney general. He thinks of the attorney general as essentially another White House counsel, but,
Yeah.
the other thing in all this, and I think you put your finger on it, which is hilarious, is that you have people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, the top officials at the FBI, essentially worried about their future viability as podcast hosts.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Mm-hmm.
they're just nervous about their base and their fandom and all that.
My favorite thing is when all this Bongino stuff where he talks about how hard the job is. Like, it's a job, man. This is what
Yeah,
it is. Like, being a
right.
podcaster, as I am also, you and I
Me
both have
too.
these
Yeah.
podcasting gigs.
I love this
My
job. I don't wanna be
Yeah,
the FBI deputy director.
yeah, exactly. Because where are you right now, Jim Acosta?
I'm
Has
in
it been snowing?
Colorado. I'm in Aspen,
Yeah,
Colorado,
yeah,
and I'm having a lovely time, I have to
yeah,
say. That's
yeah.
why I smile all the time now. I'm sorry. I don't mean to
Right.
make
A
everybody
lot,
miserable, but
a lot better than being in an office building in Washington, D.C., being screamed at by Donald Trump.
so much better. And I don't wanna be on the south lawn of the White House asking him about the Epstein files. I mean, I kinda do, but I kinda don't. And then the other thing too is that some of the Republicans are starting to break ranks. Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, "I wanna see all the information come out." Mike Johnson apparently told Benny, whatever his name is, that it's time for Pam Bondi to explain her statements. I mean, there's a little bit of a jailbreak going on here with this thing.
Lara Trump too said, I think there's going to be more released. And you'll remember Lara Trump
Yeah,
wants to run for the Senate, or at least there's some consideration that she might run
yeah,
for the Senate in South Carolina. So this is a great example of people. Look, I think it's important to remember how Trump got to be president, which was
yeah,
he grew a base. He went and
right,
touched the sort of third rail of American politics. The people for whom Bush and Romney pretended to be, this sort of that group of the base that was too toxic for Bush and
yeah,
Romney and Reagan. That crew Trump embraced. And so he grew himself a real base. And
yeah,
that base is now its own thing. And the idea that Trump can at any time just do whatever he wants with them, it has worked for a long time. But clearly, what we're seeing here is that it's no longer working,
No,
at
no,
least for now.
the snakes are coming after the Pied Piper. And I mean, Democrats are trying to get some answers on the Hill. They're doing some votes. Jim Himes just voted that congressional Republicans just blocked us from debating the release of the Epstein files. Very curious for a party allegedly obsessed with transparency. Ro Khanna has been
Right.
trying to do this. Mark Vesey has tried to do this over the last. They're trying. I mean, they just don't have the numbers to do this right now. So this is something
Well,
that
they don't
may
have
have to
control.
wait.
Yeah.
But Molly, I mean, as somebody who has
But
been sort of, go ahead, go
can
ahead.
I just want to say one last thing, because
Yeah,
I mean, I do think nobody ever wants to fucking legislate, excuse my French. Like, I understand, but there's a play where you go out
true.
there and you'd say they have like a 1 vote majority, right? Or 2 vote majority. Half those people are 10,000 years old. Like, you could,
Yeah.
it's the middle of summer. Like, you could say, Thomas Massey, if you don't vote with the Dems, we're going to be like, why does Thomas Massey not want to see the Epstein files? Interesting. Now, look, do
I agree
I
with you.
want to be part of a party that is so craven? Maybe. I mean, maybe it's time for them to really push. I actually
But
think
this
that
is not helping them. I mean, the big beautiful bill, whatever you want to call it,
right.
all of our names for that, that's already toxic for these Republicans to run on next year. Now they're going to have to run on shutting down the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Let's
That
talk
doesn't
about.
sound good.
Can we talk about the Fabrizio memo this morning?
Let's do it.
So
Mm,
Tony Fabrizio, known as Trump's pollster,
yeah.
put out a poll this morning. I learned about it because I was listening to the Playbook podcast, which is a Politico podcast that's sort of an insider. And in
Mhm.
it, they were saying, well, Fabrizio has a new memo that shows that Republicans should sort of pay the Obamacare, they should keep some of the Obamacare stuff going. And I thought, well, that's a bit odd. That's an odd thing to get from polling. So I took up the Fabrizio memo. Do you want
Yeah.
to know what it says? Are you
Absolutely.
curious at all?
I am, because I think healthcare, it's just absolutely toxic for them. Yeah.
So the Fabrizio memo says, and I don't want to put to to um, to find a point on it. It says that Republicans are, I think the word here is fucked. So
That's the
uh,
scientific polling term. Yeah.
scientific word is fucked.
Well, they
Um,
postponed a lot of these Medicaid cuts, or they built it into the legislation that they wouldn't really
after the
go into
midterms.
until after the midterms. So this was such great policy. You would think they would want all of this to go into effect right away, but not in this case.
How important is it that as many Americans as possible are covered by health insurance? Trump voters say 83%. 83% of Trump voters say that it's important that as many Americans as possible are covered by health insurance.
Yes.
83% of Trump voters.
And the
Okay.
reason why is because healthcare is totally out of control, unaffordable. And people are absolutely furious about it. I mean, and to
I
think
mean,
that getting rid of Medicaid for
83,
all those folks is just going to make healthcare more unaffordable for all of us if you have healthcare or not through a private insurer.
uh, I mean, so this is polling on these tax credits, which clearly is like a Hail Mary pass. Like, clearly
Yeah.
Fabrizio was like, "Oh, this is." So, let's see. Here we have the congressional. I mean, it just, you really do see Republicans trailing the generic D by about 3 points. That's
Yeah.
not so good, and that's coming from Trump's pollster, okay? Among 65% of voters who rate themselves 10 out of 10 motivated to vote, an early indication of who could turn out next year, the Republicans trail by 7 points,
Yeah, no, I
okay?
mean, to me, the ads are already writing themselves. I mean, not only are they trying to take your healthcare away, the Democratic ads will say, they're trying to cover up the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Yeah.
How is that going to work in North Carolina, where Lara Trump probably won't run for the Senate, but where a Republican wants to hang on to that seat? And you have perhaps Roy Cooper, the former governor of North Carolina, running for that seat. I mean, that's, okay, that seat's gone. Sorry, you're screwed. But I mean, Texas, I mean, I hate to go after the fool's gold of
Yeah,
Texas.
What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? I'm not
I,
gonna talk to you about Texas. I
I
mean,
know.
I love you, but no, I'm gonna say North Carolina,
Yeah,
yes. Look,
yeah,
I mean, Texas may I mean, the only thing where I see that it could I think North Carolina is a play, right? That's an
yeah,
open seat. It's a swing state.
yeah,
The popular Roy Cooper running for Senate. I think,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Maybe Maine, right? That's a
Maine.
blue state. Susan
Yeah,
Collins has really just been
she's freaked
a
out.
complete disaster
Yep.
endlessly for sure. But do I think that Texas is I don't
Well,
think
we
Texas,
will
but
bottle this. We'll put it in the time capsule. We'll release it,
yes,
the time capsule in 2027. I know you don't have a whole lot of time, so I have to ask you about your book
yes,
and
yes,
how I remember us having a conversation, and I don't know if it was on Substack or where it was, or if it was even a public conversation, but you were very worried about writing this, and you were very worried that it was not going to be received well.
yes. I
And
think it was a text message where I said, "Have I ruined, dear Jim? Have I ruined my life, Molly?"
it's just been terrific, and I'm just wondering how are you feeling about it. I mean, I'm very proud of you.
Yes, I had a moment. So on June 1st, the article about me in the New York Times came out, and the next day I was like, "Oh, I've ruined my life." Like, I was like, here's what I thought. I thought, "You made yourself not a nepo baby only to be like, hey, wait, I'm a nepo baby." Like, I thought, like, who is this? Who
I'm not caught up in this as a kid who I am not a nepo baby of anything. Um, I think in the 1500s, a relative of mine was a governor of one of the Canary Islands. That's about as good as it gets. But
terrible.
to me, it's like embrace it. And to me, we all have mothers and we all just have crazy relationships with our mothers. And I
Yes.
love my mother. She's one of my heroes. She's a single mom, raised me as a single mom. And, this just reminds me of like our moms.
See,
And there's so much craziness going on. It's a good thing to talk about and think
well,
about.
the reason why I'm quite glad that I wrote it was because I go on these when I go speak at places, when I talk to people, they all come to me and say, my mom, my dad, this one has dementia. I'm signing books and people are saying my sisters and I, somebody, and then the one that gets me is when they come and they say, I'm an only child, because that's a whole other
Wow.
level of dysfunction when you are the only person, responsible for your parents. But yeah, it's been really gratifying to watch people respond to it, and so I'm actually really glad I did it.
Amazing. Well, I was not part of a big party rollout, although I think maybe I got you to talk about it before the official rollout.
Yeah,
So I snuck in there ahead of the
yeah.
game. So I had nothing to do with the success of your book, which I'm
Oh,
slightly depressed about. But I'm just so tickled for you. I'm so happy for you because it is putting yourself out there in a major way when you do a book like this. I'm just glad it worked out great for you. So
oh, thank you. Well,
I mean
I'm
that
just
too.
delighted, and I'm delighted to get to come on, and I hope you'll have me back next week. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here.
We'll keep doing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know
Yeah.
you got to run, but it's great to see you. And what were you saying? They're fucked. That'll be
I
our
think they're
soundbite.
fucked. I mean, look,
That's our clip.
man. Yeah, they're fucked.
That's our clip for the day.
That's the fancy political way of saying it.
Operative term. All right. Bye, Marley. Molly, great to see you. Good to see you. Thanks so much. The wonderful Molly Jong Fast. And yeah, I'm going to go very quickly to my old, because I mean, why mess around with introductions here? My old pal, Elie Honig. I've been around with him for a long, long time. I'm so excited to catch up with him and shoot the bull. And he probably can't come on Substack and say shit and fuck and things like that like I do, which is I feel very sorry about that. But I am coming to you live from Colorado today. I didn't even mention that why I have all these beautiful aspen trees behind me. But Molly, of course, brought it up and rubbed my nose in it, which is all wonderful. But no, it's great to talk to Elie again. Here he's coming in now. He's
Hey,
coming in hot. Elie, good to see you, man.
how you doing, Jim? Great to see you.
Great to see you too. It's been too long. I'm so glad we got to do this again. How are things? How you been?
I'm great. So before we get to me, though, I have to tell
Yeah.
you, I love Acosta Unplugged. Like, you're tan, like your hair is long, you're dressing
Oh,
casual.
I totally grew it out. It's like a squirrel's nest. There's like animals living in there.
This is like Acosta. Yeah, Acosta has his wild summer of tan and fun and all that. It's cool to see, though. I'm
I
enjoying it.
appreciate
I
it.
really
Well, I
am.
think it might have been Matt Friend suggested that I call my podcast "Fuck It" with Jim Acosta. But I was like, I can't do that. I can't every day. What if I have a congressman? I had Elizabeth Warren on recently. I can't be like, "Welcome to Fuck
Yeah.
It." Here's Elizabeth Warren. You can't do that.
It's a good title, but yeah, you're right. By the way, I recently had just the other day. It's kind of well, I had a great Acosta show flashback.
Oh
So
my goodness.
as we speak right now, I'm coming to you from Rutgers Studio where I work and I teach because I'm recording my audiobook. Now, Jim, you
Oh,
and I have the
wonderful.
same publisher, HarperCollins, and you went through this. So like, I'll turn my camera, but like, I don't know if people can see over there, but that little black box in the corner, that's my home
Ah,
this week. And
that's your
anyway, I was
hole.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's exhausting. My voice
It
gets a
is.
little
It's so
husky,
exhausting.
as you can be right. It's people probably are rolling their eyes like, "Oh, poor you. You have to record an audio." People have real jobs, but it is pretty brutal.
I remember I had to take a week
So,
off from work when I did mine because you're in there for 6 hours a day and you're wiped out. Again, not that
oh,
anybody has any sympathy, but it's true. You know.
it's true. No, I mean, I'm. You're standing for a 6 hour day. You're speaking. You're reading your book, and it's just like it's exhausting. So, and look, you and
Yeah.
I have both had I work restaurants, catering, whatever. I've done them all. So,
Yeah.
I get it. But anyway, I was doing like a promotional video, and I remembered that when I did my first book, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker,
Love
had
him.
sent some sort of tweet like encouraging me, a really nice thing. And so I went on Twitter and I like searched Mark Hamill and Elie Honig or something, and I saw something else that made me laugh. There was an episode of your show when you had Mark Hamill on, and I responded something like, "Holy crap! I'm going to be in the same show, and I'm going to be able to say I was in something with Mark Hamill." And because he's such a great guy, he responded, "Holy crap! I'm going to get to say I was in something with Elie Honig," which I was like,
I
somehow I
know.
forgot about that. But man, what a
So
great guy!
cool. I know we have so many great shows on the weekends because Ellie, you could come on and it was sort of like this. We had a lot of time where we could talk.
We
And that's what I
did.
love about this is that we can just talk and talk. And there's not as much pressure to, get to a commercial break or get through a bunch of
Rap.
questions.
Right.
Exactly. And I do want to talk about your book, but I
Yeah.
feel like the
No,
thing that I
please.
would be, if I were back in my old place and you and I were doing a thing together, I would be super anxious and eager to talk to you about the Epstein case
Yes, let's
and
do it.
whether I can't imagine you had worked on it at some point or
No, 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 no.
you didn't have anything to do
I
with that.
covered it.
Yeah.
I covered it for CNN. I have no conflict or anything.
You cover it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
what do you think about this? Because I talked to Molly about the political implications of it.
yeah.
Obviously, there's probably nothing legally that I can think of that Trump has to worry about. I don't know. I mean, maybe he does. He's been very squirrely about this lately. But what have been your just overall thoughts on the
Yeah.
whole thing?
So I wrote a piece. I write a weekly piece for New York
Yeah,
Magazine last week titled something like "Nobody Trusts Pam Bondi," right? And of
that's
course, I
true.
write in the piece. I mean, liberals and Democrats distrust her from the start primarily because she's an election denier. She's a 2020 election denier. She was quite vocal at the time. She said, "We won Pennsylvania." I mean, false. And she never really took it back at her confirmation hearing. She gave the old, "Oh,
That's
Joe
right.
Biden is the president," that BS line. And I said, so she never had liberals, obviously, but now she has lost a hell of a lot of conservatives. I mean,
Yeah.
and why? Why? Because, and I'm working on a piece. I'll preview it previewing the number one mistake Pam Bondi made is she didn't abide by like the most bedrock DOJ principle, which is we don't disseminate our closed investigative criminal files. We don't imagine if they did that. Imagine if they just dumped out, "Oh, I want every
Thank
interview
you.
ever
Okay.
given." Right. Exactly. It would be mayhem. And sometimes those rules suck, right? Like, look, in the public, I would love to see everything. But
Yep.
having been a DOJ prosecutor, those rules are there to protect people and to protect you. If you're the AG, you just go, "Look, folks, like, I wish I could turn this over, but there's this crappy old rule that everyone from both parties has always abided by, and my hands are tied here."
But it's a little too, isn't it? It's
instead.
a little too late for that now, though, right? It's a little too late. And
100%.
the other problem
100%
is
too
that
late.
other problem
Yep.
is Trump has said let's release them. JD Vance has said let's release them. Cash
Yep.
Patel,
Yep.
Bongino, the people they put at the FBI.
Exactly. So they've all walked themselves into this ridiculous corner. And making matters worse, Pam Bondi has been, I'll try to be charitable, but she has been vastly overblowing the contents. I mean, she said to
Yeah.
Fox News, they said, how about the client list? She said, it's on my desk right now. I mean, there probably is no client list. I don't know, as delineated, there could be incriminating information.
Yeah.
But she remember when she first took office, she said, oh, I'm going to disclose the Epstein files phase 1. And she handed out those ridiculous binders that people were holding up. And there was like crap in there, like 200 pages of stuff that had already come out. So it's like she's created this vice, those things where you put your fingers in, and like she's created this vice of her own making by A, ignoring DOJ policy, and B, I'll just say over promising what she would do and what was in those files. And then suddenly last week, she goes, no, here's an FBI memo that says there's nothing to see and nothing further. And therefore everyone stop bothering me. So I totally understand the backlash. And by the way, the backlash, I mean, when I was researching for my piece, I was like, conservative, right wing, MAGA, lash out, Bondi. That was my Google search. And it was like,
but here's the thing, Elie. To me, like pinning this on Pam Bondi and making her the scapegoat, which is what Megyn Kelly wants to do and Laura Loomer wants to do, and give me a break. That. First of all, do we really think that they put out that DOJ memo without any sort of nudging by the White House to put out this memo that puts it, kind of sweeps it under the rug and puts it to bed and says, oh, by the way, we don't think there's a big conspiracy here. And, oh, by the way, case closed and so on. I'm sorry. That sounds like something that has some White House fingerprints on it. And if it does, then that brings the scandal back to the White House. And the way that Trump has been talking about this, he says it's now fake and that it was Comey and all this other stuff.
Right.
He sounds like he's got something to hide. That's what makes all of this mysterious.
I totally agree that Pam Bondi has become this lightning rod, and all the anger is suddenly on her, whereas either she as the AG or the president could, with a snap of the fingers, just say everything's public. We're putting it online. I mean, there's nothing legally. There's a lot of DOJ policy preventing them from doing that, but legally, if they choose to do that, they can do that. So I agree with that. And, the question I keep coming back to is like, why the sudden turnabout? Why everyone you just listed being 100% hard, whatever left, the accelerator all the way to the floor. We are going to turn this stuff over and reveal everything to like suddenly the brakes jammed on. And by the way, I was listening to Michael Smerconish, our friend and colleague, on the radio this morning, and I think he was reading from the Washington Post or something, so I don't want to misattribute this, but some smart person out there made a point about if this was like some sort of Democratic Party setup, why would no Democrat have ever turned this stuff over? I mean, it's so obvious.
Well, and also, if it was the Democrats that cooked this up, you're the Republicans who are in charge, so release it and put that out there. The other thing that I have on my mind, Elie, is I talked to Mark Epstein yesterday. He was on my show, Jeffrey Epstein's brother.
Yeah.
And he thinks that he calls it a murder. Now he thinks that his brother was murdered somehow, and points to a lot of strange things. And who's to say whether or not any of this adds up to anything? But the fact that that the brother was Jeffrey Epstein was on suicide watch, and there are cameras that aren't functioning properly. Apparently, there are mattresses and blankets in the room when they shouldn't have been. There's just some weird things here, and apparently there were coroners or medical examiners that had questions themselves. When you look at any of that stuff, and do you look at any of that stuff and say, well, that's damn curious too? Or do you say, this is conspiracy theory stuff? What do you?
I think we are at the phase with the cause of Jeffrey Epstein's death where it's like the JFK assassination phase. Like there's so much information out there. There's so many questions that no one's ever going to be satisfied either way. Right.
Yeah.
I think if you took a poll, I'd actually be interested in what public opinion polling says about this. I imagine it's out there, but like what % of the American public thinks that he committed suicide as opposed to murder? It feels 50-50-ish to me. I don't really have a theory. I just am at the place of, I haven't seen a smoking gun saying, he was
Yeah.
murdered. I know that building pretty well. I mean, I was in that building, the MCC, a million times. It's closed now because it was such a dump for renovations.
Right.
It's I don't know. I mean, look, there's always going to be a gap. There's a 1 minute gap now, apparently, in some surveillance video that Pam Bondi tried to say is normal. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But like, the problem is people are just dug in. They just believe X or Y. And like, I don't think anyone's genuinely persuadable. My position on this is like, I just don't know. And I don't have any magical insight. So,
Okay, and I won't press you too much more on this, but I had a couple of questions. I put a chat question out earlier today on Substack. Got some questions from that, which I think are very
go for it.
interesting. One of
Yeah.
them was: Is Epstein's girlfriend and conspirator heavily guarded in her prison cell?
Oh,
Could she somehow talk? And another person asked, can she be forced to talk? I suppose she can't be forced to talk.
no. Right.
But she's serving a 20-year prison sentence right now, of course, after being convicted in 2021
G.A.
of
Maxwell.
conspiracy with Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell,
Yeah.
exactly. What are
So,
your thoughts on that? And could she potentially have some information?
so it's interesting because I think I wrote a piece at the time, maybe for CNN or something. Like, if you Google my name and Ghislaine Maxwell, God, I don't like that. But, if you,
Yeah, yeah,
me writing about Ghislaine Maxwell, I think I wrote a piece at one point talking about, like, could she actually flip? Would there be a reason for, I mean, now here's the calculation. She has, as the criminals would say, she has stood up so far, meaning she has never gone in to talk. As far as we know, she has stayed quiet and taken whatever she knows into that jail cell with her.
right.
It could be that she gets to a point where she does the math and goes, I've got 14 or whatever it is years left, and I'm however many years old. And so I want to talk to prosecutors. And at that point, the way it would work is her lawyer would contact probably the SDNY and say, Ghislaine Maxwell is ready to come clean and tell you everything she knows. And there is a way to get a sentencing reduction after the fact. Before the fact, the way it normally works is you cooperate before you plead guilty, and then you get what's called the 5K letter. But you could also do the thing where you cooperate after you've been convicted while you're serving a sentence. And if you're good, you get what's called the Rule 35, meaning the prosecutor will write a letter, same thing,
Yeah,
asking the judge to reduce your sentence. Would she do it? I mean, look, you can benefit this way. I don't know that prosecutors would be interested in hearing her out, would have any interest in even going down that path. But, so I think it's an extreme long shot. I will say also, by the way, a lot of this stuff is going to have statute of limitations problems now. Even if
yeah.
there's like a glaring crime that somebody committed, usually the statute of limitations on these things is 5 years. So,
And I'm
you would
not
have,
well, and the other
yeah,
thing is I'm not sure that the federal prosecutors who are perhaps worried about, incurring the wrath of Donald Trump, whether they would be all that anxious to open up this Pandora's box with Ghislaine
yeah.
Maxwell.
I
And
mean,
so some of this would have to come from her side, from her attorney,
yeah,
you
I mean,
know.
well, certainly, even if I was, putting myself back in that office, if I got a call one
Yeah.
day from an attorney for Ghislaine Maxwell saying she wants to talk, I would go, before we do that, and I'm very uncertain I want to do that, but I need what we call an attorney proffer, meaning you, lawyer, you give me everything she's going to tell me, and you give me any support for that, because you don't just haphazardly walk into that conference room if you're a prosecutor.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ellie, you got a new book coming out,
Yes.
and are you allowed to talk about it yet? I guess
Yeah.
I'll just ask you
Yeah,
about it
we can
anyway.
do it. See, you're a pro. You know that, like, we can preview it, but without yeah. It's
When You
called
Come at the King is going to be the
Yes,
name of the book, and
yes,
it basically boils down to, if you're going to go after Donald Trump as part of this judicial process that he went through over the last couple of years, which he played like a violin and helped him get back into the White House,
yep,
you better mind your P's and Q's, as my mom might say. And a lot of these cases were a mess. But you talk first, and then I want to ask you about the January 6th case, because, as you know, I've always been obsessed with that case. And
sure.
why did you write the book?
Well, first of all, it's not a Trump book.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's really much more of an overview of from Watergate through Jack Smith. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you how I came up with the idea. Did you read George Stephanopoulos' book, The Situation
The
Room?
Situation Room. Yeah, that's a great book.
So
Yes.
it's really good. And as I read it, or after I finished, I thought, ooh, what a great structure. You take this really important governmental institution, the Situation Room in his case, and in my case, special counsel, independent counsel, whatever, it's been called different things over the
Yeah.
years. And you have a chapter on each major use of it, right? So
Yeah.
Stephanopoulos has Bay of Pigs and, on through 9/11 and on through COVID. And so for me, I start with sort of, there's overview in my assessment and all that stuff. But basically, the first big chapter is Watergate. And then we go to Iran-Contra. And then we go to Clinton and Ken Starr. And we proceed through, there was no special counsel, but Comey and the 2016 election, all the way through Scooter Libby, all the way through Mueller and her and Hunter Biden. And finally, Jack Smith is the last. And the end of the book is about like, what do we do now in Trump 2.0 era? And I will tell you, this was a joy to write this book because I got insider accounts all on record. There's no an anonymous person. Everyone put their name on it. Yeah, I just decided enough people were willing. So every chapter has at least one voice and sometimes 4 or 5 voices. People from Watergate, prosecutors, John Dean, of course, Carl Bernstein gave, but Jill Wine-Banks, and then from Clinton, I have people who were on Ken Starr's teams. I have Clinton's lawyer, David Kendall. Rod Rosenstein, people from Mueller's team, people from Trump's defense team, people from the guy, Abby Lowell, who defended Hunter Biden, Bob Bauer, who defended Joe Biden, all of them on the record. A couple people who were actually prosecuted by special counsel. One of the guys, you won't know. I don't think it'll take an iron memory to remember this name. Igor Danchenko. Does that name ring a bell?
No, that does not ring a bell.
This is one of the poor not a sap, I shouldn't say that, but this is one of the unfortunate guys who was prosecuted by John Durham. Remember John Durham?
Oh, that's right. The Durham, yes.
And Danchenko, I have a chapter about Durham. I'm very critical of Durham. And Danchenko was prosecuted and acquitted. And this guy's story, I also talked to Mike Espy, who you're a little too young for that, maybe. But Espy was a Clinton agriculture secretary.
I remember that case. Oh, yeah.
He was acquitted, too. And both of them told me the whole story, what it was like to be raked over the coals by these guys. And so it was so much fun. Andy McCabe, Andy McCabe talked to me. I mean, tons of people and I know, but tons of people I didn't know either, who were very generous and forthcoming. And so it's really like case by case. And at the end, and this is probably of most interest to you and your viewers, I ask, like, what do we do now? And my core thesis is this, in terms of the looking forward part. We are losing, as we speak, a lot of guardrails, a lot of traditional protections that both parties have observed for the last half century or so, whether it's inspectors general or, the idea that you don't fire non-political DOJ employees.
Yep.
There's
a New York Times story out about that today, which we don't have time to get into. Yeah.
And my thesis is the special counsel is going to die during Trump 2.0 unless he chooses to use it in a brand new sort of retributive way to go after Jack Smith or, whatever. But the traditional use of special counsel to investigate basically in-house, to look at the president or people around him is gone. But I argue it's essential that we collectively don't let that die, that we bring it back no matter who is president. Now, look, it's highly imperfect. These cases have been badly flawed in numerous ways over the years, but there's ways to fix it. There's ways to do it better. There's lessons to be learned. And so I propose that we need this to survive. And I quote, everyone from Archibald Cox to Janet Reno to you name it, who say, look, you do have to have some system to independently investigate the president. And to the title, which of course I took from The Wire, you come at the king, you better not miss. Although I learned in the research, it actually goes back way, Machiavelli used it.
Goes back a ways. Yeah.
Ralph Waldo Emerson. But
the thing that strikes me about the premise of the book and the title of the book is that it is very much, and I know it's not a Trump book, but it is very much at the heart of where we are right now as a country. Yeah. Had he not gotten that immunity decision the way he got it from the Supreme Court.
Oh, I talk about that in the book quite a bit.
And by the way, you and I have not spoken in a while. I mean, the way the Roberts Supreme Court has behaved since Trump has gotten back into the White House, I mean, I will say for John Roberts' critics, that his actions, the way the court has ruled, maybe you could point to some exceptions. Obviously, anybody can point to exceptions. I think ignites more concerns about the behavior of the Chief Justice, the principles, the ideology of the Chief Justice, and what's going to happen to the Supreme Court moving forward. It just seems like such a damaged institution because it seems, by and large, they're just in this mood to keep pulling off the guardrails around this particular president.
Well, and I do spend a good chunk of that last chapter talking about the immunity decision, both in the sense that it ended essentially, Jack Smith's prosecutions, or, mostly ended them, or at least ended any chance he had to try them before the election. And it was a watershed moment. I mean, I remember, gosh, was I with you when it happened? Were you? Because you
Yeah,
had the 10 o'clock show.
I
And I
think
was,
so. I think
yeah,
so.
I
I think
think I
we
was
did that
probably
together. Yeah.
sitting next to you when that
We
came
weren't,
down.
maybe
And
we weren't expecting it, and then kablooey, it happened. Yeah.
yeah, no, I think we knew because it was the last day of whatever it was.
Or maybe,
But
I can't remember. Yeah.
that was a watershed moment. And it really does. I do say in the book, one of my ultimate recommendations at the end, I make 8 or 9 recommendations, is prosecutors cannot look at that opinion and say it's impossible to prosecute a president
Yeah.
or a former president, because it's not impossible. They do leave, but I say in the book, the Supreme Court doesn't really articulate where the line is. We know it's out there somewhere, but
Yeah.
prosecutors have to feel that out where it is. I'm not saying they should just bring charges willy-nilly, but they shouldn't just fold up their tents because of that. And again,
Yeah.
to the title of the book, one thing that struck me, looking as far back as even before Nixon, the first one was actually Ulysses S. Grant, which I love. When people get in these scenarios, going back 50 years, going back 200 years, when they're either a prosecutor, a defense lawyer, a target, an FBI agent, a judge, you name it, and it involves this type of case, they realize that it's kill or be killed. It's blood
Yeah.
sport. It's obituary level stuff. And I went back. I mean, obituaries are such a great source of research. And I found the obituaries. Basically, every person who's ever touched any one of these cases, first line of the obituary, the so and so from the Iran Contra case, the so and so from
Yeah.
the Ken Starr case. So it leads people sometimes to a higher level, but more often it leads people to do crazy or irresponsible or strange things because they're in,
Yeah.
self-protection mode. So.
Well, can't wait to see the book when it comes out,
Yeah.
Ellie. And it's great to catch up with you. Best of luck with all of this. Best of luck with your voice
Thank
as
you.
you're voicing this, narrating this book.
So you can hear it's a little huskier than normal.
Yeah.
And this has been great. I'm loving Summer Acosta. And by the way, I have to say, I don't know where you are, Jim, but at one point, maybe 10 minutes ago, a male ran across your.
There's some kids back there. I'm in
Okay.
Aspen, and the kids are having fun. I'm not having fun, so I'll be poolside shortly. Just take it from me.
Yeah, I was like, if that's your
have no
home and
fear.
that's your backyard, I might be mildly concerned because I saw a guy.
No. I'm in Aspen having a good. I'll explain a little bit, but yeah, no, I very much not in DC or New York, not in the Acela corridor to say the least. But
Consistent with Summer Acosta.
Exactly.
All right, man.
Great to see you, man.
See you. Thanks, Jim.
All right, Ellie.
Take
Great
care.
to catch up with you. All right, I'm going to quickly now go to my pal Christine Brennan, who just joined Substack, and I pressured her into doing it. I'm just kidding about that, but no, she had to jump on Substack so we can do this interview today. And my friend Christine Brennan, the acclaimed sports journalist, she is just absolutely one of the best sports journalists I think there's ever been, in my humble opinion. And she has written a fantastic new book that is being very well received right now, on Caitlyn Clark, who obviously, as everybody knows, has just become an absolute force in professional sports. She's lighting up the WNBA right now. And to me, I think, the argument could be made that Caitlyn Clark is probably the most fascinating professional athlete out there right now. I mean, that might be fighting words for some folks out there, but the way she has changed women's sports in just the last few years has been extraordinary. So I'm hoping, Christine Brennan, that the Substack machine will work here. But Christine and I are also Washington Commanders. I call myself a fan. I don't know if she can call herself a fan, but she's had many years of experience covering the Washington Commanders / Redskins. So I always enjoy talking that with her as well. I'm going to try not to annoy everybody by asking about that too much. But there's Christine Brennan right there. Christine, it's great to see you.
Jim, it's great to see you too. And not only that's the number one thing, it's just so great to see you and be on air with you again after all of our wonderful fun times at CNN. But I'm even more happy that I got Substack to work. So
I'm so glad too. No, I appreciate it. And you'll see, I don't know if you have any interest in doing this Substack thing beyond today, but it's a wonderful outlet for the work of journalists out there. I love promoting it and having other journalists on my show. And I just think it's a great new medium that just sort of takes us out of the corporate media realm and just lets us go directly to the public. And it's just been a lot of fun for me. But one of the things that I'm so excited about talking with you about today is obviously this new book that you have out on Caitlyn Clark. And I just said a few moments ago, and please slap me upside the head if I've overstated things. Caitlyn Clark may be, and I'm a big sports nut. I am. I all the sports. I love all the sports. I think she may be the most fascinating sports figure out there right now, male or
I
female.
I agree, Jim.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Obviously, I am on a book tour, and
I'm not
course,
saying that just
so
to puff it up, but I
no,
think that's
no,
the
but
case.
so I am talking about her a lot right now.
Yeah.
I even think we can take it a step further. I think absolutely as an athlete, household name in every household, right? Everyone knows her. The guys who never would give the time of day to women's sports. Those are the guys I'd be on sports talk radio 20, 30 years ago, and they're laughing at me about women's basketball. Those are the guys now that wear the 22 jerseys, not only to the game, but they wear them, Jim, to the grocery store and the gas station, right? And those guys, and when you got those guys, then you're golden in it
Then
as
you're
a
in.
sport. But I'd also say this: I actually think she's one of the most famous people in the country. I really do. I think, and again, my perspective is skewed. I'm right now in Iowa. I'm Des Moines, Iowa, where they love her as much as anything. And I've been in Indiana, but I've also been in
Yeah.
Ohio. I've been in, DC, our wonderful politics and prose. I mean, people can't get enough of her. And there is something going on. And I think, let's put it this way, she was huge to you when you and I were talking on CNN. Uh,
Hmm.
During the end of the NCAA, time for her, where they had 4 million more people watching the women's final game than the men's final the next night, which I never, even now, I never thought I could say that sentence. It's just unbelievable. But
Yeah.
then the WNBA and all that, well, she's even bigger this year. And she's been injured. She's missed playing time, as you know. That's unusual for her, very unusual. And yet the storylines keep going, the drama, the fascination with her, the anger at her, the people who don't like her, all of it, Jim. It's all rolled together.
And I don't know where to start. First of all, the book is on her game, Caitlyn Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports. I don't know where to start first. The former cable news person in me wants to start with what's the deal with her getting roughed up? What's the deal with the hate? Why are there the haters? What is this Pandora's box that she's opened? I don't know what that she didn't open it. It's just by virtue of the fact that she is who she is and she's just an amazing athlete. Have you been able to put your finger on it as to what it is? Because I remember you and I used to talk about this. She's just a lights out basketball player who I think seems to handle herself pretty well in front of the cameras too. I don't know what there is to hate about her, honestly.
Right. Yeah. No, she's great. As I say in the book, she's 22 now she's 23, but 22 going on 40 or 50. The
Yeah.
maturity, the ability to handle everything, people, racial, everything's coming her way. And she just it's remarkable. I mean, I've covered, as you
Yeah.
know, I covered Tiger Woods the length of his career and watched him mope around and want to talk to people. And I mean, great golfer, but not do autographs. Caitlin dives in with kids, before games, after games, autographs, every question, gives you long answers. I mean, she's a dream. She's better than you'd hope she would be as a person looking you in the eye,
Yes.
old school. But to go to your question, it's one I get a lot, one I've thought about a lot, and I do deal with it in the book. You know, that this is a 74% Black league, the WNBA.
Mm.
And I will speak to you as a white suburban woman from, a girl growing up in the suburbs of Toledo, Ohio. I have no idea what it is like to be Black, obviously.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was very important to me as a journalist, and I know this is how you operate as well, is you talk to people. And
Yep.
you talk to as many people as possible, and you get as many voices as possible. Now, this is a book, it's a sports book, Magic of Caitlyn Clark. The logo threes jump off the page. She's quoted extensively from all my questions to her throughout the book. But I absolutely step back and examine this exact issue of this league, 74% Black league, and a white superstar coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You and I both know the WNBA started in 1997. I was covering it in the late 90s. And that was a league that was basically ignored and laughed at, as I said, by the
Yeah.
male-dominated mainstream sports media for its entire existence, mostly. I mean, getting better over the last few years, until this young woman arrives from Iowa. Um, Players that we would have hoped would have been household names: Maya Moore, Candace Parker, big names in sports, but not they're not talking, they weren't talking about, those wonderful players like Maya Moore, Candace Parker, even Diana Taurasi. They're not talking about them in the produce section of the grocery store. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
not doing that. Grandmothers are not hanging out, chatting about what's the next, where do I find Ion on my TV set so I can watch Caitlyn Clark? That just wasn't happening. Do I wish it was happening? Absolutely. I covered it. I tried hard, but you can't wish it so. And as a journalist, you cover what you cover, and people care or not care. So now's the moment. And I've got the great Dr. Harry Edwards. Of course, I think you've interviewed him, this great civil
Mm-hmm.
rights leader, obviously a
Yep.
Black man. I've got his voice in the book. He was the man behind the Black Power salute at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics. A
Oh, yeah.
friend. We've been on panels together. He's fighting cancer. I mean, he's an amazing guy. And he says it, the WNBA failed the players. By the way, he thinks
Mm.
Caitlyn is great. Again, this is Dr. Harry Edwards. He says the WNBA failed the players. They set up the traps for the players to fall into. What should they have done? I'm sure that's what people, okay, what do you do? What do you do in this kind of unique situation? Dr. Harry Edwards says seminars, Zooms. He would have talked to players, not because they're damsels in distress. No, these are terrific, strong athletes who are well educated, but we had never seen, you can make a case, no league in any sport, male or female, has ever seen a moment like this, where you've got this fascinating convergence of cultures and issues, and it's all thrown on this 23-year-old. But
Yeah.
again, the missed opportunity by the WNBA, they failed to lead.
Interesting.
They failed to understand what was coming.
And I think, Christine, the racial component of this is important, and it has to be examined. It has to be part of the conversation. But to some extent, and again, this is me as a layman sports guy, it is how do you cope? How do you deal with the arrival of a superstar? She was a superstar coming out of college into the WNBA. And she instantly transformed the WNBA into something that a lot of Americans suddenly cared about a great deal. And that, to me, I just would have to think. I mean, I played high school football. I can't say that I had a great sports career, far from it. But I just have to assume that some athletes got jealous of that. And that's not a white or black thing. That's human nature. And I think it has something to do with what you're saying, in that why didn't this league get the respect that it deserved up until this point? But I don't know if it has anything to do with Caitlyn Clark's racial makeup. I think when she drains the threes the way that she does, almost from half court with almost no effort whatsoever, she's an extraordinary athlete. And I thought it was unfair. And I'm just going to say it. I thought it was unfair that she didn't make the Olympic team. I know your book gets into that. Apparently it was a disappointment for her, even though she didn't really speak to that. I, let's talk about that. Is it partly because she just is who she is?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Muffet McGraw, the great Notre Dame, legendary coach, obviously now retired, she says petty jealousy. There's that.
Yeah.
We heard Sheila Johnson, who is a friend in D.C., of course, owns part owner of all the D.C. teams and the owner of the Mystics of the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
She was talking about how Caitlyn, when Caitlyn Clark was named the Time Magazine Athlete of the Year, and then Sheila Johnson, the owner of the Mystics, was on CNN, and she was talking about how it shouldn't be Caitlyn Clark, it should be the entire league winning League of the Year. I mean, I don't even know where you go with that.
Yeah.
And she said there are hurt feelings. It's going to hurt people's feelings. I mean, what is going on here? I'm
Yeah.
covering this.
That's not how it works. That's not how sports works.
And
I
Sheila
wish
Johnson, by the way, Jim, Sheila Johnson knows that
she knows.
because she's the owner of the Mystics. And I point this out in the book too, in this, section where I go into some of these kind of just otherworldly, ridiculous comments. I mean, just from people who know better. The two Washington Mystics games hosting the Indiana Fever, they have that little 4,200 seat arena.
Yeah.
It's a bandbox over there about 10 minutes away from Nats Park. And Sheila Johnson moved those two Fever games from the 4,200 seat arena to the 20,000 seat Capital One
Wow.
arena, where you've spent some time, as have I. And they had, on the second game in September, they had 20,711 people, the largest regular season crowd in WNBA history. And Sheila Johnson made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of Caitlyn Clark by moving those two games. So,
Interesting.
but then she's on CNN with Amanda Davies saying, well, something clicked last year. Something clicked.
No, yeah,
Yeah, something clicked. You know exactly what clicked because you moved 2 games. So what is it?
yeah.
I treat, we've talked about sports so much, you and I love that. And I'm so glad to be on with you and in your fabulous new life that you've got and career you've got. I treat every athlete the same, right? If I
Yeah,
cover the Olympics, I'm going to ask the same question. Michael Phelps, 19 years old, DUI. His agent wanted me to talk to him for 45 minutes, and I asked him tough questions. Tiger Woods, tough questions. You name it. And also easy questions, talking about sports. That's what a journalist does.
yeah.
So when the WNBA, when they wanted to ban me for asking 2 questions, it's almost like this very unfortunate kind of girls' club that I didn't even like when
Mm,
I was 10, when I was playing sports with the boys as this tall girl growing up. Like, what are we doing here? These are tough, strong athletes. They can handle it. And they can
yeah,
certainly handle it if someone is getting a Player of the Year award from Time Magazine. The old days for our leagues would be they'd be thrilled. But old days as in a couple months
yeah.
ago or even now, because then that light shines brightly on everyone. And that's the key to me, Jim, on this one. Yes, Asia Wilson should have gotten attention before she did. Yes. And all of these, Kelsey Mitchell with the Indiana Fever deserved it and didn't get it. Leah Boston, obviously one of Caitlyn's top teammates has is Kelsey Mitchell.
Yeah.
All the women I just mentioned are Black. And they didn't get the attention from that male-dominated mainstream sports media. But that
Mm,
spotlight that shines on Caitlyn Clark now is shining on all of them. And there is data galore showing that the rising tide lifts all boats. How does
well,
the
I hope so.
yeah, but how
I
do they
hope
not
so.
see this,
I know, and it's something we can all get mad about and hopefully agree on, that Caitlin's salary to play for the Indiana Fever was $78,000. $78,000. So, I mean, if the not to point the finger at the WNBA, but I mean, if they're making a lot of money off of, arenas filling up and venues filling up, we got to do something about that. That is ridiculous.
Well, it is, although it's also capitalism, right? I mean, no one
Yeah.
cared about the WNBA.
Well,
When I
that's
say
true.
when
And
I
she
say
makes a
no
lot
one
off
cared,
endorsements. Yeah.
no, but like, when that happened, and of course the comparison, I'm sure people are saying, well, wait a minute, what is an NBA top pick? So Caitlyn was making what, 76, 77,000 last year. And the NBA number one draft pick made 57 million. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, right. Okay. The disparity's there. But then you say to people, understandably, they should be outraged. I mean,
Yeah.
today, Title IX, 53 years old, we really care about women's sports in this country and our daughters and our nieces. The girl next door you wave at as she goes to her games. And,
Yeah.
but what was happening was no one was buying tickets, no one was buying jerseys, no T-shirts. They weren't even watching the games. Now,
Yeah.
Caitlyn Clark comes in. Now we're seeing that. And again, the salaries will go up because of Caitlyn Clark, because of her presence, the TV viewership, which is going, records every time she plays in a big game or even a not so big game. She's getting eyeballs that they never got before. And
Amazing.
and that's it. But yeah, it's going to take, it'll be well past our lifetimes before there's equality. Also, keep in mind, Caitlyn is making millions. She's got that $28 million Nike deal
She's doing
and
okay.
millions more. Yeah, she's doing
She's
just
doing
fine.
okay. Well, the book is On Her Game, Caitlyn Clark and the Revolution of Women's Sports. I told the viewers right before you came on, Christine, that I would not torture them with Washington Commander talk, but I am extremely excited about my Commanders and Jaden Daniels. I saw him the other day. They showed it on the news on Channel 4 or something, and he looked like he has been bulking up. He looked kind of buff. And I thought I don't want to get him too buff where now he can't get down the field as fast or get out of the pocket as fast as he used to last year. But at the same time, I also worried about him taking all those hits. He looks like a guy, and I shouldn't say anything more because I'm going to jinx it. I'm a superstitious Washington Redskins Commanders fan. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's just incredible what this franchise has become.
Well, it is. And that, you've waited a long time and everyone in Washington has. And I covered them back in the 80s for the Washington Post when they won games and won Super Bowls. I mean, Joe Gibbs, the coach then, three different Super Bowl victories, as you well know, three
Yep.
different quarterbacks, not a one of whom will ever make the Hall of Fame. I mean, you can make a strong case that Joe Gibbs is the greatest coach ever. I know we'll hear Vince
I agree with
Lombardi.
that.
but he never had a Hall of Fame quarterback. All these other great coaches did. And then it's been this, they're a little bit, obviously here and there, the playoffs, RG3, whatever. But this has been a long, long haul. And I could even relate this to the Caitlyn Clark conversation. When you have someone you can't take your eyes off of.
Yes.
Caitlyn Clark's a basketball player, but she's really an entertainer, right? The logo threes, the beautiful passes, chucking it from the parking lot, it goes in. That's the allure, right? She's not just a basketball player. Well,
that's right.
Daniel's, same thing. You cannot take your eyes off of him.
So
what
true.
he has been able to do, and that's not only obviously great for the team, the Commanders, great for fans, long-suffering fans like you, Jim, but also to draw in new people. There's a real parallel there. People who will say, hey, I want to watch the High Wire Act, and he's playing at 4:15, and he's playing for Washington. And that's a new thing for the Commanders and for DC fans. And it's about time.
I was traveling overseas recently, and I saw a guy at the hotel wearing a Commander's hat, and I was like, I can't remember the last time I was traveling anywhere and somebody was wearing a Commander's hat. It's so true. What you said is so true. Christine, it was so great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for doing this, and best of luck with the book. You don't need it because it's going to be a blockbuster hit, but loving all the press you're getting and so happy for you.
Jim, well, thank you very much. And again, not only thanks for this, but thanks for getting me on Substack, because as we're talking, I'm seeing all these people now following me. Right now, I want to alert everyone. I'm not doing anything except talking to Jim Acosta, but I will. I think this looks very cool.
Do it. You'll have a lot of fun doing it. And you can kind of use the stuff that was on the cutting room floor, and you can do interviews. Anyway, I'll let you have fun with it. But Christine Brennan, great to see you as always. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Jim, thank you. Great to see you too. Take care.
All right. You as well. The wonderful Christine Brennan. She and I have known each other for such a long time, and she's so used to hearing me complain about the Redskins / Commanders that it is nice to actually talk about when they're doing well. So forgive me for that one little moment there at the end of the show where I talked about that. I do want to just point out the breaking news that's been happening while we've been on. Apparently, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has been saying, and I believe he said it to a podcaster earlier today, and I will just tell you the headlines that are coming out. He is saying that the Epstein files should be released. He is breaking with Trump on this. He is calling for the Epstein files to be released. I'm just going to tell you right now, this is Politico saying, Speaker Mike Johnson is calling for the Department of Justice to release all of its information on Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier who died in jail after being charged with blah, 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 and wants Pam Bondi to explain previous statements on the matter. That is fascinating. It tells me that not only are House Republicans freaked out about the so-called big, beautiful bill, which I used to call the big boulder of bullshit. But anyway, there's another boulder rolling in their direction, sort of like the boulder in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that is this mushrooming and snowballing Jeffrey Epstein scandal, which I affectionately call Epstein-gate. And it sounds as though House Republicans are starting to think it might be every man for himself, or and they have some women in the House, a Republican conference, but every member for him or herself as we head into this midterm cycle very soon. And they're very concerned about what could be sort of, a 1-2 punch that will be very politically damaging for them come next year in the form of that bill, as well as this Epstein matter, which Republicans have been voting against getting to the bottom of it. So it's not too surprising that Mike Johnson is passing the hot potato back to the Department of Justice. So very interesting. So we're going to keep on this. The Epstein files, the Epstein-gate. Trump, can go out there and make all these crazy statements on the South Lawn of the White House and say that it was Barack Obama who did this with the Epstein files, or Joe Biden or the Clintons, and all of this cuckoo bird stuff he's been saying. All of this magnifies and underlines and puts in boldface how much he is freaking out about the Epstein files right now. And if Mike Johnson is saying release the Epstein files, and Donald Trump is not saying release the Epstein files, we've got a story here, folks, and it's one we're going to continue to cover on this show. In the meantime, I want to thank Molly Jong Fast, Elie Honig, Christine Brennan. Thanks to all of you for watching. Still reporting, I'm not in Washington. I'm out in Colorado, enjoying life out here, enjoying the summer out here. So forgive the aspen trees and the kids running around in the background. I'm going to go run outside too, and go have some fun. But in the meantime, thanks everybody for watching. Still reporting. I'm Jim Acosta. Have a good evening, everybody. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.